Figure it out.
Live from the apocalypse. The Stanley Cup is named after Stanley Tucci. This is State of the Game. And I, your humble host, have spent the week thinking about things ST Knack can name himself after. I love ST Knack songs where he names himself after other things. Knackman Thanos, Knacksaw Jim Duggan. I'm pitching Knack Waldo Emerson as the next step here. Logically. So, pitch that to him. Ralph Waldo Emerson of New England as well. And Knack is Massachusetts. I think it works. So my co-host, the spirited K Diggy, is the inspiration for the lead in most rom-coms is not here right now. He's having internet issues. Pop in. But my co-host, he will be here. We are lucky enough to have, the James Gandolfini of album art here. We're talking about Alexander Richter, who has given us countless, not just masterpiece things that we stare at and like in awe, but arguments. So many arguments that Alexander Richter has provided the internet. Thank you so much.
Hey, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate those words, and definitely hope to be contributing something that people are getting into, or taking something from it.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean, because I was thinking about it. I was like, you have images that will like stop me in my tracks. Like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And we'll do some screen sharing here just because it's visual. We're talking visual stuff. This is, by the way, this is a spiritual sequel. I don't know if I told you. This episode is dedicated to the best album covers of 2023.
Oh, yes, you did.
Last year, we did a best album covers of 2022 with PQ, who is an amazing album artist, cover artist.
Gotcha.
He's more in the painting realm, so it makes total sense for you as the photography to stand in. And we'll talk about your work and hip hop. You've got an amazing knowledge of hip hop, but we can just geek out about photography as well, which I think is fascinating medium. But so yeah, we'll talk about all of that. But you have the heart stopping stuff. But what I love is you will occasionally give people a cover that is controversial to them, that is shocking, and you have no fear in that. Is that fair to say?
I mean, I guess I'm not necessarily looking at it like controversial, but
yeah,
the imagery that I am making, if somebody is down to use it for their album cover, then, I don't know. I'm not scared to put images out there that I feel like are going to be easy to process, or I don't know. It's not always as difficult as one might seem. Like the controversy specifically dealing with some of the albums that we've done, it was the people themselves reacting more so than us being, or myself being like, oh, this is really going to stir the pot and we're really going to make something. It was the right images to go with the right music,
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that is the most interesting about doing cover art is if you nail it, you make something that is the album.
For sure.
It's so strange.
I mean, ideally, I would like for you to, initially see that photo and then again feel like, that goes with what the music is, and that the music goes with what the photo is, that they kind of work together.
It reminded me of, there was like an MTV documentary about the progression of MTV, and when MTV first kicked off, there were musicians who had successful music videos and were pissed about it because the song was tied, like that Tom Petty song is tied to the Mad Hatter and Alice in Wonderland. And
Sure.
Tom Petty's like, what the fuck? Like,
Sure,
you know?
sure.
And so but then there came crops of artists like Madonna who understood how to make this work, how to make the imagery reflect the music the right way so you always felt how she wanted you to feel. And that's the, I don't know, in a way that feels like the progression of album art. I mean, I was looking at your photography page and you get the early joints are just like picture of me on the cover. And then the later you get more and more interesting, ornate stuff. And that is your growth, but that's also the market growing. Am I wrong?
I mean, I would think that we're changing the market as we've made our album covers.
Yep.
Again, I keep saying me because we, I have done work with a bunch of different people, but, obviously for a long time now, I have been connected to what Woods has been doing and what Backwoods has been doing. So it's like, when given the opportunity to make photos that people want to use for the cover art, that we are getting to change how we want to present the work. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we're dictating that. So it's like the audience or the fan base is moving along with how we're seeing things differently, how we get to change. I'm a photographer. As much as I like topography, I also like my images to be there standing alone. Somebody
Right.
like Woods is a big fan of that. So it has been a blessing to be able to make photos that he likes to use, that the label likes to use, and that represent the music that's being created. And as a result of that, we're helping guide other people who are inspired by maybe what he's doing in his music or what he and the label and we are doing as artists, so can't take full credit for it, obviously, but definitely, if you look back a long time that we've been doing this, less albums with names on the covers, less parental advisory stickers, less text often. It's still there, but there are a lot of people who I think kind of are like, hey man, if the image or the painting or whatever, the drawing, the photograph is strong enough, then, let that rock on its own and let the people enjoy that, especially once they get a 12 by 12 album cover, or, it's like you have physical, tangible artwork to hold,
Right. Yeah. No, it's so, that's so interesting. And I think I put up a poll a while ago about what what your favorite or what the best album cover for Armand Hammer was, and it was like a big hubbub. It created this big. It was like it was shifting and moving over the course of the day, which is wild. Like,
okay.
Paraffin had its run. What?
You did all the albums. You did race music. You did every.
No. I mean, it only gives you like 4 spots or something like that on Twitter. So it was definitely Paraffin, Haram, Rome.
People love Rome. Shout out to Shane. Shane did a great job on that one.
Yeah, honestly, Rome is my pick. Like, Rome to me is the atmosphere of, and it's terrible. Like, I should suck up to you more, but like Rome is kind of what it sounded like to hear Armand Hammer for the first time.
Got you.
Like, everything's on fire, burning down the old systems.
For sure.
It was awesome. And
I remember when Woods described to me like his idea for the cover, and then when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is it looks great, and it definitely, again, connective tissue directly to the music.
Yep. And Paraffin is perfect. It is a perfect, like, it had a run. Paraffin had a run where it was like not just people were voting for it, people were talking about it. People were like, man,
Yeah.
I just can't stop looking at it. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
Appreciate that for those who voted for it.
yeah, no, um, and it perfectly is that album. You know what I mean? It is that album. And so what, like when you're doing those covers, how much how much conversation is there first? I assume you get the music first, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Like,
Oftentimes, I mean, again, with these dudes, yes.
yeah.
With anybody I'm working with, I'm always going to be requesting something to kind of get some inspiration, but blessed again with, backwoods and whatever to hear things early on. And then if I get asked to be able to contribute, then it's a no-brainer that, hear the music, get the ideas going. Whoever I'm working with has their own idea.
Oh, shoot.
Everybody feels like this is the right direction to go in.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, and that is a tip for anybody who's getting anybody to do any cover art or any it's hiring anyone to do any art for, load them with information.
Yeah, man.
Load them up with information. It will pay off. Um,
I mean,
yeah.
it's better to know somebody's, inspiration or some departure points that you can connect with so that people aren't feeling like, hey, I mean, some artists don't always have a vision. Some people, they trust what you do and, that's the way to go. Other people will be like, hey, these are some starting points or these are definitive ideas that we would like you to execute, and it's you're not a Xerox machine to just kind of print out something else, but it's like, okay, it's like you get past the ball and then you got to take it to the hoop.
Yeah, no, and maybe it's as simple as like you're an artist who made an album that was sparked by inspiration elsewhere, and the person who's doing your cover is an artist that needs to be sparked by your inspiration.
Sure.
That's just how this moves, right?
For sure.
And once you spark that, you can just let them kind of do their thing, hopefully. Um,
Agreed.
but yeah, no, it's great. And let's talk about some stuff here. The screen shared. Because yeah, early covers, when you early, versions. Need see here. I was gonna pull up. I don't know if that's gonna show well, but we'll see. Share screen. So this is like one of the important covers in Maine,
Hell
for
yeah.
Maine hip hop.
I hope so. I mean, I was all shout out to Spose.
Yep, it's Spo's Happy Medium, and it is definitely like this is the way album covers were done, right? Like the 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 name is out front. He's not even he's behind the name. The record label. This was his label debut, right?
Yes, he asked me to get involved on making the photos, but I don't know if Spose did the graphic design himself or if somebody else did the typography, logo, happy medium and whatever on top of the photo. But that was a long time ago. Definitely glad to see that he's at it and that he's still progressing and killing it up there. And in general, doing his thing. So big up
Yeah,
to
and to somebody who's always smart and always doing new things. He actually released an album and an app at the same time. I think like recently
I wouldn't be surprised.
He's that guy.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Yeah, but no, like this is you. If you look at older Spo's album cover, like the red cover, with like it was raw. It was just him kind of smoking a doobie in the forest, and this is the polished version. Like this is my label debut.
Gotcha.
And so it was just a good reference point for the old school stuff. And then you get something.
His music when this stuff came out, were you like up on his thing on what he was doing?
Oh yeah, I mean, the transformation, and I would love to talk to Spose. was one of the most fascinating local figures because everybody loved him when he was funny, he was interesting, he was clever, and then he became like the guy with I'm awesome, and like he just started like doing numbers, and the scene kind of the people around me that were connected to the scene turned on him a little bit, and were
Sure.
like, he shouldn't be this successful.
Sure.
And it was like it was really wild to see that pivot in real time. Um, but he's always been him. Like he was always same, you know, individual, and he put so many people on, you know.
And he seems to be hardworking, and he's you know,
Yeah,
I mean, he continues to work at his craft, and yeah, I mean, respect to him that, you know, you're doing it after all these years. You know, there's something to be said always about the marathon of it.
100%. This this has to be one of the craziest covers that I have ever seen. This metal lung. Uh, I I have a hard time processing it now. You know.
I
Um,
see Spo still on my end.
oh, okay. I'm sorry. Is it? Maybe I can stop sharing and reshare. Oh, suppose was okay. I got to reshare. Bang.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's hard to even process this as an image. It's is the your powers plus Ingersoll's powers together.
Yeah,
Uh,
man. I mean, to be honest, I almost feel like this is more of a Shane cover than, like, you know, it is a portrait of mine of Castro and Prem, but it's such a Shane piece that, you know what I mean, that it's like it's definitely, that dude kills it. He's got a bugged out way with the way he makes his artwork.
100%. I mean, unbelievable. And I would say I wrote a piece last year. I every year I give somebody the MVP of the year.
Uh,
Just for fun, really.
sure.
And Woods was the MVP last year. Um, Woods was runner
Play it.
up. Woods was runner up before that year that Rock Marcy released like 5 albums. Uh, yeah, I had
Sure.
him right there because that was the Terror Management Hiding Places year. But he came for the gold this time, and I was like, what when I was writing about was him as a project manager, right?
Mm,
Like I was like, there's 100 people writing about his lyrics and how many dimensions they have, and so what I'm here to talk about is how good he is at getting the best out of it, um, and how good Backwoods is at getting the best of people. Shane, right? You, gang, right? Just knowing good people, kind of letting them just go nuts. Um,
for sure.
how
Having
much do you,
trust.
well, go ahead. I'm sorry. Okay.
I was saying trust, you know, it's like in the last little bit here, you know, with the album coming out and some people asking questions about what's going on with the label. And, you know, I would think that, as you said, Woods is the cog of the wheel, you know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like you have different people with different skill sets, and when your time comes to step into the game or to, you know, get on the racetrack, you know, it's on you to execute what you already know you do, and then what he knows you do, you know what I mean, or what he has the confidence in your illustration, your typography, you know. Ashes did the Maps album recently,
Oh
or
my gosh.
Grade B on her artwork, or you know what I mean. It's like there's a big roster of people who make artwork there that is in a different, you know, we working side by side with the artist, but we're just, you know, an integral part of the process that Woods has to spin in between both worlds, the artist side and then our artist side, you know. So it's
Right.
like, and the artists themselves, I mean, Castro and Premrock in this way, they had their own vision, you know what I mean. They asked me to make some photos, but they had told me they wanted to do something with the Shane illustrating, and they had an idea. So, I didn't know what the final result would be, but they did, and that's a great asset to have in people who have a vision to bring to fruition.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things I admire about Castro is he has continually proven himself to be somebody who, no matter how great you are, he's not afraid to come back to you and be like, give me another version where it's like this. You know, he's not afraid to get to his vision, if
Sure.
that makes sense.
Or try. I mean, again, you gotta it's great to have no revisions. You know what I mean? It's great to hit something on the first take, but sometimes you gotta push a little bit. You gotta pull a little bit. You gotta, tweak, sharpen
Right.
your own sword against somebody else and kind of be like, okay, well, this person is seeing it in a different way. And so again, if you're willing to get outside of your own creative self, your own vision, your own ego, your own, you get out of your own way, things can come together that will be a blessing to everybody.
To go art like critic nerdy on this picture, with like I'm showing my son lots of art, right? He's 9. For years I've been kind of pulling up famous art and talking to him about how he feels about the pictures. First thing I always say to him is, where did your eyes go first?
Uh-huh.
Right? Where did your eyes go first? What did you realize second? Because when you're looking at something, it unveils itself kind of in stages like that, usually. And this picture, the center of the picture sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
They are the center of the picture, but you don't even know it for a few seconds.
Oh no, it's a mad city over there.
your eyes are everywhere, right?
Yep.
And then you realize, oh, there they are in the middle. Like
Sure.
that's an incredible thing.
Yeah, dude. Again, Shane's color palette and this is what this dude does. He is knocking it out the park whenever he gets the chance.
Yeah. No, it's really good. Let me take a look and see. Oh yeah, we'll talk. I gotta, I've got a personal thing here in terms of the controversial covers that you've given us. I'll be honest, I don't have many thoughts about Haram. I
Yeah.
like it. Oh no, as an album, I got thoughts all day, right? As a cover, I was never offended by it. I was never, I was like, this is cool. Like I wasn't, but the cover of yours that really messed me up, we will get to here.
Yeah, definitely. That was problematic for people. But that's Action Bronson.
That is Bronson.
Yeah.
And I remember, I mean, the reviews would lead with how offended they were at this cover.
For sure.
It would definitely, in my opinion, it definitely set the project back a little bit, just in the sense that, like, these songs don't have much to do with that cover.
No.
But I love this EP. It had Strictly for My Jeeps. Oh, it was good. People were so offended, but it was wild and unexpected.
Except it had everything to do with the cover because this was what Action wanted to do for the cover. These are like, again, in this sense, this is somebody who has a vision for what they want to do. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't me to pitch like, hey, let's get some girls and put them in the bathroom. Like, it's like, this is Bronson at this point in Bronson's career. You know what I mean? Like, this is a long time ago now. So it's
Long
like,
time ago.
Action has gone through many different phases.
Right.
Has been a tremendous talent. And yeah, you know, this through, I feel like Paul Rosenberg was the one who was making the plays happen over, you know, I don't know if it was Atlantic or whoever it was, you know, but the
Yeah.
idea, the sob stories, the play on the cover, the lipstick, and the
Yep.
girls, it was something that he wanted to do. So, you know, again, like my job, obviously, there's more photos from this night, but this was the one that they also being the art directors, you know, like
Right.
depending on you know, early on as well, you don't have as much say in the idea of what you want. You know, I mean, you could be like, these are what the cover images I think I like, but if an art director wants to go with a different one and they get to pull the shots, then you're kind of left to deal with what they would like, you know? So, um, you know, fortunately, again, going back to Backwoods, there's always a very even distributed field of like, okay, this is what I like, we'll discuss it. This is what they like. They discuss it, and then we find space that makes the right play. You know, so for
Yeah.
this one again, you know, it definitely um, was. You know, and if you listen to Bronson's music, this cover is that type of music. At the same time,
That's
dude,
fair. That's fair.
gonna have girls doing all types of kinky shit. He's gonna be doing some wild voyeur. You know what I mean? Again,
Yep.
at that time, I'm not saying that that's action now, and I'm
Right.
not saying, you know, that Bronson and I, we don't work together. You know, we're not in touch, so there's no love lost. But again, at the same time, it's like, you know, I'm not speaking for him now. I'm just speaking for the night that we made these specific photos. You know?
Yeah. When he went from hookers at the point to like Caribbean inspired, you know, interest, you know, all he's gone through all these phases. And yeah, this is definitely more towards hookers at the point Bronson, where it was sensational and the environment was still very post Tyler the Creator, like future is still very like sensational, if
Sure.
that makes sense. So yeah, and it the interesting part I think of what you said was like when you're the difference when you're dealing with a label artist, it's gonna add tiers of approval.
For sure.
And when it adds those tiers of approval, things can get very muddled and confusing trying to make everybody happy. Whereas if you're
I
dealing
guess
with
they
like
still exist on a smaller level. It's just like it's more confidence again and more like, hey, this is what this person does, and so there's less having to deal with yeah, jumping through art directors or people who have to prove that, hey, I know what I'm talking about, or we got to do this or we got to do that, when sometimes it's like, no, if you just let the artist and the creative photographer do it, then you execute, you know, fearlessly.
now we're ready. This legitimately was like Fred Sanford heart attack time. Like this is my favorite uh Alexander Richter cover. Uh
Great. Thank you. I appreciate
bar
that.
none. Bar none. Church, I absolutely gasped when I saw it.
What do you
And
like about it?
so we'll talk about like you talked about maps and how different maps was. Um Woods has uh Woods had these rules that he kind of set for himself, right? No text on the image, but like usually covers, sorry, albums that were titled after something that could be a placeholder idea that could go in a number of different directions, right? I first heard him describe this with brass, right? That he's like, there's lots of different ways to take it. Brass is kind of a dirty, precious metal that is less precious than a lot
Mm,
of other metals. And there's also this meaning, and there's also, you know, like brass shell casings, and there's, you know, so it could grow as a concept and move and be fluid, you know, but it would guide you, you know.
for sure.
Uh, and the images on the covers are very similar to that in my estimation, right? Like this being church makes sense because it captures the awe, right? The perspective of it looking up captures the awe that you have dealing with this image, right? And that inference of the awe you have of church. Does that make sense as an initial reading?
Sure. Yeah, man. I mean, I would think, it's like you're looking at a cathedral.
And then you realize that it's like that it's more likely a rundown project building or something. Like it doesn't. This is not a pristine church, right?
Definitely not. I mean, that's somebody's apartment building. I don't even think it's a project. That's just New York City architecture in Washington Heights. That's how somebody has engineered people to live on this side of an island by the Hudson River.
Woo! Yeah. I mean,
so again, it's like, but it's pretty nuts to think like, yo, what if you lived to think that, look at that first floor. Like imagine the idea of a hole comes out and you're just falling, it's an insane feat of architecture. And definitely I feel like it has this element to it that you were looking, up at a cathedral, like you were looking at something greater than yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's the bound up in the image, right? It's the awe and the disappointment of like oh my gosh, the awe of this, and then you look deeper and you're like, oh man, like that's and so like the duality that lives in that
for sure
in a singular image is perfect for the kind of remorse that's explored on that album.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah,
love to hear that you like it. I mean, again, it's like, it was an idea, we execute the play, and then, glad to see that people feel like it has worked for them as the cover for that album. All the different levels that are going on within the writing that Woods is presenting to you as the listener. Again, the image allows you to kind of get some different plays out of where you're about to go, or after you're done listening to the music, you look at the photo and you feel like, yes, this is appropriate. They work together.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it makes sense. Oh. All right. Let me share. Okay. Just yeah. No, that's a great. Yeah. That cover is amazing, and the power of singular imagery that runs through Backwoods, runs through your covers, in a way that just makes sense. We have to talk Karam, because I know that it was this. When did you start feeling controversy, heat on any of these covers? Have you ever felt like people were like, who did this?
This was the most, like, I mean,
Okay.
to be honest, it's like, but that's also at the scale, like Bronson was there, but Bronson's so long ago that it's like I feel that I'm more exposed at Backwoods as an artist.
That's a great point.
I'm more, I'm there making photos that people either come to expect or people want to make photos, or, again, that's why I mean, it's like some of us there, like we're not the musicians, but, like there's an integral play there. So, again, I'm given more confidence to present stuff. I'm given more trust. My vision is respected. With something like Bronson, I was respected to bring in on the job, but once the images go out there, it wasn't like, oh, this is Alexander Richter. If you knew, you knew,
right?
But here it becomes more like, I'm closer to the surface. So by the time Haram comes out, this isn't my first time making photos. where people are going to see it. So, you know, the fact that it was I who made this photo that ended up getting used becomes controversial because people just had difficult time processing this image, you know, and you know, I've said it before and you know, we will say it again. It's like this wasn't chosen with like, oh, we're gonna really stir the pot and like, you know, that's not, gimmick is not what I do, gimmick is not what Woods does.
Right.
Like you know, there's real thought, there's real intention, there's real direction to what we want to do, either separately, together, or whatever. So it's like when given the opportunity to make photos and then given the cover and the title, you know, I guess I was given the title before the cover, you know. So it's like
Right.
these are things that he is a critic in his own. So it's not like he's just going to let something go forward that's just something mediocre. You know, the rhymes don't come out, the books don't come out, nothing is half-assed. So I knew we were going to have pushback just because the visibility with Alchemist. If it was just Elucid, Billy Woods, myself, and we were putting the project out through Backwoods, and it was the year that it was, and yeah, some people would have been offended, and but it wouldn't gone as big as it did because Al is involved, and Al, you know, is a smart man who got himself to work with Woods and Elucid, and so
Right.
like you're just at a different platform, a different visibility. You know, it's like, so there are people out there complaining about books. And I just heard tonight something about one person is responsible for like 90 something book bans on a national level. So it's like, if somebody
Well,
has nothing better to do with their life, then, you know, they're going to look at the album art and they're going to say, hey, this is terrible. This was, you know, shocking. What's the word for when it's like people, when you're trying to like shock the audience? It was none of that.
right.
You know the music, so once people listen to the music, the feedback was, this is the music.
Right.
You might have not necessarily been connected to it, but a lot of people were really like, this is like, this photo is why this photo is for the album, because this music is this photo is this music, layer upon layer upon layer, however you want to peel it back, you know.
Yeah. No, it's, you know, I understand the method and I respect it. I just, this is, you have made an incredible point with like, number one, Backwoods fans are different, right?
Okay.
Backwoods fans are different. They know who did the cover.
Yes.
They're actively looking for the credits. They want
Yes.
to know who did everything, right?
Yeah.
And so
Blessing.
they knew.
Thank you. I mean, again, it's like, you know, for us, that's important.
Right. They knew your name years ago, right? So they absolutely know who Alexander Richter is. But then you have a second set of fans who are Alchemist fans who weren't necessarily dialed in before, who are trying out Armand Hammer for the first time.
For sure.
And so you've got kind of a cross purposes with these fan bases
For sure.
and that movement. And so like there's just very different groups looking at this cover and haggling over it. You know what I mean?
I mean, Al is, I don't know what his social metrics are, but I would imagine it's in the millions of viewership and it's in the all of the algorithm and it's, you know, but it is now, it's bigger than what it was even a few years ago. And a few years ago, he's already steamrolling everything. So it's like for Al to stand by it and get on board, and for those guys to make the music that they did, and then again to be you know, honored to be able to contribute, you know what I mean? Again, it's like that is definitely one of those albums that goes down in the books, you know, not just because of the album art, obviously. I'm just saying like it's a pivotal time, and those guys, it changed the direction of their careers too, you know.
Do you have like a favorite backwoods cover that you've done, or are they all just different for you?
Yeah, man, they're pretty different. I mean, again, it's like, I'm always looking to make the next thing. So it's
Yeah.
like I'm like the next one's going to be my favorite, or the next one's going to be the best one, or it's like want to make stuff, to keep making stuff. But it's definitely very proud of a lot of them. It's like
Mm.
anytime that I've done different projects with Elucid and Shrapnel, and but it's like Woods again and I, like, we go back a long way. So it's like, that it's special every time to be able to make something because uh, you know, I'm finding my art the same time he's discovering his, you know what I mean? So it's like as I develop, I see him develop. As he develops, I develop. You know what I mean? So it's like there is nothing specifically favorite, but definitely I see things getting better and better as you put in the time and the working on your art, your skills, your vision.
Right. Yeah, you can see like we obviously like just looking at maps, right? Maps is a cover that breaks all the rules, right? It has wording, it's not a singular image, it's very busy, and it was a surprise, but at the same time it wasn't a surprise
Yeah.
because how Billy Woods is it to establish a set of rules and then break like that's very Billy Woods.
Yes,
Uh,
man.
so that's awesome. And I think since you have gone along and just followed with this direction of like, we're going to build a new tapestry over here and then leave it behind.
Yes.
We're going to build a new one over here and leave it behind. Comparing them must like, it almost doesn't make sense, right? Like, um, these are just totally different
Yeah.
moods, emotions, tapestries, right? You can't, yeah,
You don't want everything to, I mean, again, I would not want you to think, oh, there's just one thing that guy Alexander does. Like there's only one style of it, or like that you would look at him and you would say, hey, these are all different, and yet they feel like the same person did it because that person is able to do a wide variety of interpretations of what needs to be made for a project, or as a photographer in general, that my vision is broad. And so when bringing that vision to a project, you're going to be able to approach it with a wider lens than somebody who is just like, hey, I only shoot one style and one style only.
yeah. I mean, before we
Not
go
that there's
to
anything wrong with that.
no, it's totally okay to what is our we came up with a term for this. Uh the sculptor, right? The sculptor. So I was Ka is always my example.
Yeah.
Ka is always building something like that feels unified in a way. Like it's not like he's going in extreme new directions each time,
Yeah.
but he's building something. He's building a cohesive point. And it's kind of like a sculptor just being like, I'm just doing the teeth for the next 2 weeks, you
Sure.
know? And that's what you got to do.
Details.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's beautiful, but also people that are experimental. That's awesome as well. We need all that.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. I think, for myself, I definitely would like to be, uh, yeah, making images that feel different and yet they feel cohesive of like, oh yeah, this dude, he has gotten, when he had the opportunity, he put his foot down on it and stepped to it as hard as he could and make images that people will, whether they're going to know it or not know it, that they're going to see the photo in a record bin or on their iPod or their phone or their laptop, and that it feels again like, yep, that image is the right way for me to connect to this album.
That's awesome. Now, this we had to talk about Paraffin before we go to the best albums covers of this year, just because what an image, the lettering, in terms of photography. I remember I was in my wife's father is a photographer,
Okay.
professional photographer. On the side, he was a school teacher and a photographer.
Sure.
He and we got to talk about it a while, and I got to, he was talking about like setting up a shot all day and shit like that, and like just the kind of patience that you need.
For sure.
And I was in a museum with my wife, and I was like, what does photography do that like nothing else does? And she pointed to a photo in the gallery of someone like happily jumping in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, that's it. It freezes time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It freezes real time, and it's the only way to freeze real time.
For sure.
And like this cover is that more than anything else to me.
Dig it.
So yeah, I mean, it's the lettering, the dripping of the lettering, the brightness of the lettering, but centering on her face. It's you find a way to perfectly center the picture in a way that is unbelievable.
Appreciate that, man. Definitely, this is a proud moment, and once again, blessed. This is Elucid's wife.
Oh wow!
And, yeah, and this is his firstborn. I don't think I'm exposing anything, but sorry. I hope it's not an issue. But
I mean, he's definitely said that he has, yeah, he's definitely talked about his situation.
I just respect people's, you know what I mean? So again,
Sure.
I don't know how many people do know that that's his wife, and that's
Cool.
his son. So it's like, this was an idea that had been thrown around and was something that I wanted to make and thought would be a good cover. And again, Woods and I discussed and Elucid. And on the day that I pulled up to Elucid's apartment, I saw somebody had painted this across the street from his house, like, a bunch of graffiti with a cool hand style. And I can't remember exactly what the whole thing said in its entirety, but it was like, maybe 3 4x6 sheets of plywood that had been painted with something. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, man, this got to be used for something. Like, there's no way, like God, like, again,
Yep.
These guys, New Life, Elucid had recently had his son, like, so this was one of those moments from several moments outside that we shot with the intention of making the cover. And then this was when it came back from the lab and I saw the negatives, was like, this has to be the cover because it just feels too right. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, you don't need the typography. You don't need the name of the band, the group, the artist, the label, you just have this. And
Right.
Yeah, man, this is definitely not something I dwell on in any way, but when people bring it up and I look at it right now, like, I haven't looked at it like this in a little bit, and it's like, yeah, it's a beautiful photo. And blessed that she allowed me to make the photo and that Elucid was down to share that part of his life for all of us,
Yeah. One of the cool things about being an Armand Hammer fan is having secret conversations about whose album this is. Like, well, because like there are different periods of Armand Hammer and they learn from each other, right?
Sure.
They have this incredible relationship. So Paraffin for a lot of us is a very elusive album. To take nothing away from Woods, right? I just think Elucid's all over that with the production. and just, the bars.
Yeah, man.
So that's so
He's a
great.
tremendous talent.
Yep. Yep. Before we get into the album covers of 2023, talk to me about general aspects of photography, because photography is one of those things like poetry that everybody thinks they can do. There was a period in my life where I just felt like everyone I knew was like, "Oh, I'm a photographer," and I'm like, "Are you?" But it feels simple, but it's not. And there's what are the basics of what you need to do? Like when you see that graffiti across the way, you are like, what are you doing to situate that picture?
I mean, again, I can't speak for what other people do. And like, for me, it's just been a long time ago. There was a decision that had to be made that would be like, you can be a jack of all trades, or you're going to try to focus on one. You know what I mean? And I, blessed to find the cameras that were my father's before me and
Right.
try to put my work in on it. So for me, it's difficult to explain what you need because I see the world as Alexander Richter. So it's like I've always seen the world in a very visual way. You know what I mean? And so it's hard not to see things. So it's hard to not understand how I could not take photos, So everybody who thinks they are a photographer or whatever, the beauty of it is that a lot of people have been given the opportunity to become photographers because the equipment has been more accessible, and there are a lot of tremendously talented people. But, to continuously deliver images, to have a point of view, to it's like to have a voice, to be able to do a bunch of different things at a high level, to adjust constantly, to be able to improvise, to be able to stay fluid, to know how to manage a personality, to be respectful, responsible, treat people kindly, be on time. These are things that are not always reciprocated, but they help me as a person make my photos and try to do the best with the opportunities that I was either given on a professional level or just privately, because when you're making photos, you're doing it obsessively. You're not just doing it, today's Tuesday and I have an assignment, so I'll only make pictures today. It's like,
Yeah.
I love making photos. So, what it is for people, I don't know. But for me, it's just of my ability to document and kind of try to present and share the world around me the way I see it, so that you can see it and have a debate with somebody else and be like, yo, the Haram cover is shit, or the Haram cover is great, or Paraffin is this. You know what I mean? Like, I love to be able to see that stuff on Twitter. I love to be able to, not again, as much as I say backwoods artists, we are known for what we're doing. It's also like there are plenty of people who don't know. So it's like people might just be like, yo, it's a dope cover or it's not a dope cover, and it's like a blessing to be able to make your work and leave something here when I'm not here. Somebody gonna find it. You know what I mean? Somebody gonna pull an album out. It's gonna be here long after I'm gone.
And it's important to, like, what you said is important. Like when you are being kind and professional and empathic and, kind, and it's not reciprocated, you need to hold closely to the knowledge that you're doing it because it resembles who you are. You're not doing it. You're not doing it for the reward that they're going to give you for being kind. You're doing it because that kindness defines how you move. That professionalism defines how you move. That punctuality defines how you move, right? So it's not wasted.
It's how you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not wasted. It's you know, you have to be who you are. You have to practice how you play, right? Like you have to do all that. So yeah, um, yeah, it was great
Yes,
stuff.
agreed.
Let's pull up some covers and take a look.
Yeah, let's see where we're at.
Ooh, honest reaction to some of these covers is going to be fun. I'm going to throw you some curveballs here. I got some. I've got 18 in this folder.
Oh,
We're not going to get all of them. We're not going to get through all of them now. But have you seen this Ice Spice cover?
yes, yes.
How do you feel
Crazy.
about it?
I mean, again, it's wild. Like, when I first saw it, I had to look closely to try to figure out if it was a photo, if it was a illustration or whatever. It's like I'm not mad at it. Like, it's not my style, but again, I think I did remember seeing it and being like, wow, to my wife, being like, wow, imagine if you see your child, on the phone or whatever, and that's popping up, you're going to be like, what are you listening to? Like, what
Right,
is that?
right. Yeah,
But again, the fine line is like, if you're having honest communication and you're doing whatever, then it's like, that's not the end of the world. You're just seeing what it is and then figuring out how to discuss it or move around it. But it's definitely like, wow, that's from somebody's inspired mind.
yeah. I mean, it's striking first of all, and I think you talked about it with when you have a mission, right? Ice Spice's mission was to take over the world,
Sure.
right? So this cover being giant, right? Like her as a giant figure eclipsing you makes sense. Her as a cartoonish figure, right? Not realistic. Like that is kind of important for where she's going to exist in the pop space, right?
Yeah.
She's not going to be able to give you the kind of grounded stuff if she's going to be where she is. Um, so this is her saying, "I get it, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to win." Like, and so
Yeah, man. It got you.
yeah,
It got her into the folder of albums to discuss.
it's striking. I really like that EP, by the way. I think it's good. But let me talk about something else. Ooh, let's go another direction. Let's go another direction. And this is not a rap album.
All good.
This album is called Raven. It is by Kalila. Um, how do you feel about this?
Love it. Not familiar. Don't know the artist. Haven't seen the photo. Haven't seen the cover. Yeah, beautiful. I mean, definitely. I'm a big fan of black and white. So, and again, here also just the water, the contrast. I'm not sure if that's a woman or if that's a man in the water, but definitely like, yeah, I like it. It's really, and again, it's a little bit of whatever this is on the bottom. Is that the artist name on the bottom right? But or logo or
Yeah, I don't. That's a good. Maybe it's the record label, Warp Records. Maybe,
but this is getting close again to artists, taking the page of, hey, no longer do I need to have a bunch of text or. And I'm not saying that there are plenty of times that I think it's warranted, but I do feel like the paradigm did shift and people did start to feel like, hey, I can put things out like a framed piece of artwork and not necessarily always like, oh, I got to drive the commercial advertising, whatever side of it. So I like this one. It's cool.
Yeah, you got to trust the image. If the image speaks to you on this kind of level, you got to let it have the floor.
For sure. I'd check out the music.
Yeah. So this is like Kalila it's very like it's dance. It's like very electronic, but it's R&B. You know, it's R&B, but it's very like kind of icy and distant,
Okay.
and interesting. It's a great album.
Yeah.
Um,
Check it
but
out.
yeah, and that cover is kind of the icy feeling that you get listening to the music.
Gotcha.
Um, we'll stick with the icy feeling. Eh, I'm not well, it's being weird. Okay. Oh, well, let's go. We'll go somewhere else here. Ooh, we're doing it. We're doing it. This is Leather Boulevard by B Kool-Aid, Pink Sifu, and Ollie.
Dig it.
Um, yeah,
I've seen it floating on the computer. I have not listened to the album, but definitely seems to be in vein with what Pink Sifu does. Like what I have seen of his albums, he uses photography really well. And I know of his stuff through Woods and through like Arm and Hammer, and have done some digging in or going down the rabbit hole, but I still have a lot to discover. But when I do see images from him, I feel like he and his collaborators, they make good use of photography. So this one's cool as well.
yeah. I love the brown color. Um, as I think that's really cool and really striking.
Yeah,
Um, to have a singular color like that,
for sure.
really that isn't just gray or black.
For sure.
It really does change things. This is an album when you listen to it, it is grounded by female voices.
Okay.
You know, Liv, Ladybug Mecca. There's just women all over the album, and sometimes they're singing, sometimes they're rapping, sometimes they're just talking shit. Like this
Okay.
album, Leather Boulevard, is kind of about the lessons you learn from women in your life, right? And these women on the cover look like they've seen some shit.
For sure.
And so it's
They look
so
great.
cool to have
They
them.
look like they look regal.
Right, right. Yeah. So it's really cool. And it's an album that feels like a community in a way.
Right on.
Yeah.
I
So,
definitely seen people on the Twitter put it up, but I just haven't had a chance to like go down and really check it out.
yep, yep. Oh, we can go the opposite direction here of the photography.
You
And
got Stay Max up there?
oh no, we're good. Let's go. Naxaw Jim Duggan is awesome. That's such a
I
cool
love it.
one.
It's
That's
a
such a
great
cool
cover.
one. But we'll talk about the young Morpheus from
Ah,
whence it came,
yes.
which I
Saw
mean,
this
this is what's up?
I said I saw this today.
Oh my god. This is the
Actually,
album
in
like
my own little preparation of coming here, I had tried to see what people were looking at, because as much as I am listening to music, I realize today there's still so much out there that,
oh
I'm not necessarily connected to. So this was one of the albums. I know his name,
yep,
and
yep.
I'm like, but I had not listened to this. So you seem to be showing me album covers that I haven't necessarily listened to. So homework on my end, but also like that's the cool thing to see, that there's just such a wealth of talent out there, people doing stuff that is just,
Oh,
if you're willing to look, you're gonna find somebody,
totally. I
or
mean, and
people,
this
or whatever.
this is the album that I kind of throw on when I don't have any other listening work to do. I'll
Gotcha.
just kind of be like, boom, because oh, it's so good. Um, and he definitely has a history of these kind of covers, right?
Okay. This is his.
Um, Paintings
Okay.
that are like, yeah, I don't know what style is this, oil painting. It's not, yeah, it's a, the kind of impressionistic where things didn't look like how they actually looked, they looked like how they felt.
Sure.
Um, and this image looks like how it feels, right? Like
That's a
the
dude on his sword, right?
right. This dude is impaled on his sword.
Right.
This dude on the ground, like you can't even see all of his face. His face seems to be kind of melting into the ground a little bit.
Yeah. Can't tell if
Um,
he has arrows in his back.
yep, and that's because he's dying of the arrows in his back, and so there's a lot. The blood is so vivid on the ground over here.
For sure.
It's like, yeah, it's really I don't know. It's, and I could just stare at the sky, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
the sky is really cool.
Different, but it reminds me in some weird way. It kind of feels like an Akai solo, like that.
Yes.
The one that was done through Backwoods with
Yep.
out that had like a sword or something that was
Yep.
going on.
Let me pull that up here. I got it's a, that is such a good point. Oh, Spirit Roaming.
That one, yeah.
Yep. We can, I'm gonna share screen on that to compare and contrast. That's a great call.
Different, but feeling like they're kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Spirit
really like
Roaming.
that album cover.
Yeah. I mean, that was this one is even further into the how it feels versus how it really looks,
For sure.
because it's like they're something, if they're just blobs when you look at them initially, right? Like you make out a sword, but it's not from whence it came. There's a battle scene, right? Like
Mhm.
guys in black armor, that guy's in lighter armor. Like there's teams and you can see
Mhm.
who's who, right? You lost that guy on the ground and the arrows in his back. Kind of tells a story.
Mhm.
Spirit Roaming kind of tells a feeling in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, yeah, I when I first saw it, it was like, um, not the smoke monster from Lost, but, there was something about it that was feeling like it was, the supernatural or,
Yep.
I'm not sure what it is. It doesn't seem to be a human to me, although it could be a spirit.
I
I
mean,
don't know Akai Solo and I don't know the painter, so I can't speak on the intention, but, uh, definitely when I saw it, it just felt cool. It felt right for the music that I
yeah.
heard, and, yeah, different than what you just showed me of the other dude's album artwork, but something
Yep.
there that, once again, we don't have any logos, we don't have any title, we don't have
Mhm.
any parental advisory. This is off of the painter's wall in his studio, and it's like photographed, and here you go. And that's a beautiful opportunity for he, she, they, whoever made the artwork. And, as with the other one, the other one, like you said, it's a little bit like you kind of have to pull some of the definition out. But
Mhm.
when you look at the other one, you see the guy fighting like the Black Knight, and then the guy on the ground, and the horse, and the impaled person.
Yep.
And in its imperfections, that's also where we are in music and artwork now, is that the opportunity for people to present stuff with, um, that might be that dude's sister, brother, mother who's painting, and, gives opportunity for somebody to present their artwork that 5, 10 years ago they might never had the opportunity to do.
And by the way, it to go nerdy on the Spirit Roaming for a second, because I'm someone who thinks too hard about this shit. Um, the only thing really that is easily discernible in that painting is the sword,
Mhm.
right? The sword is very visible. To me, Spirit Roaming is about, the album is about fighting relentlessly. Fighting relentlessly, and that's why the who that person is fighting isn't clear, because it's kind of demons or whatever, right? But you always stay fighting. And I think that's Spirit Roaming, and that's what that is. That would be my interpretation.
Sure, sounds like a good one.
Yeah, I don't think it would be offensive to anybody.
No.
But let me share. You were just referencing the Naxaw Jim Duggan. You gotta love it, just in the sense that the flag is the Dominican flag.
For sure.
How cool is that, to flipped like the Hacksaw Jim Duggan and to flip the flag as the Dominican flag is so cool to me.
For sure. Yeah. Once I saw it, I was like, that one, this guy, he has 2 album covers that look cool. This one and the project he did with Vada, also really cool. So
let me get that one. That was actually in the folder. Because I like that one better. Rap.
yes, I like it. It's a dope. I think it's a picture. I think it's a photo, but I'm not. I don't know. Again, if that's taken from reportage, or if that's Estee Knack out in Lynn, Massachusetts, and his buddy is just licking off the assault rifle in the back.
Yeah, it could be.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, this is the thing. It's a heck of a thing.
Yeah.
It's
If they didn't have the PA advisor sticker, I think it would look even better.
Great point. But yeah, it's striking. The fire being centered in the pictures, it really helps.
For
because
sure.
the title, and this is one of the powers of Knack, right? Knack is an interjection as a person, right? Like it's, and so when you say brap, you say it loudly. You just have to, right? It's an interjection, and you can, when you say brap and you see that, you can feel the coherence of the image, right?
Sure.
Like that's what this is. This is gonna fire off it, you know.
Yeah, I like it. Definitely. I like that song Penny Pinching too. It's a good song.
Oh, what a song. Yeah. I mean, I've told people I think I like Brat better than Naxaw Jim Duggan. I love all of them, but it's been great. Oh, yeah, let's get into some serious stuff. I don't want to monopolize your time, so I got to hit you with the big stuff. Okay? Get your thoughts, because it's been a great year for music.
Really
and so we got Black Thought and El Michaels Affair.
For sure.
And this is a heck of an image.
I really like it, man. This guy, El Michaels Affair, like, they always really do a great job with their presentation on their images, singles, album artwork, like color palette. Whoever he works with, if he does it himself, I don't know
Right.
those people over there at all. But when I had seen this early on, I was just like, yeah, this is dope. And cool that those guys make music together. And again, it's like, when you're serious about it, it's kind of like I guess somebody could say, hey, I'm serious, but I don't think about the creative or whatever, the presentation publicly. But it's like, there's no reason to not keep everything sharp, so it's like, this is what people are going to see. This is the vinyl somebody discovers it to. This is what somebody in the United States or abroad interacts with, and then has a departure and they go down the rabbit hole. And yeah, man, it's definitely I don't know if that's computer generated or if that's real carved out and then they photographed it. It would be cool to know, but
yeah,
definitely it's a pretty funky cover.
But yeah, you've got to your point, you've got to learn to care about every aspect of your art and delivery, right?
Yes, you should.
Uh, you have to, because if you finish your album and then you're like, oh, I got to do the cover and I got to figure out the rollout, you're setting yourself up to like kind of not have as much fun doing that as you did your music, which means it won't be at the same level. It won't represent what you did well, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean,
Uh,
not everybody thinks about it, but definitely. Although these days, I mean, again, things have changed. So it's like younger generation, younger, like, it's a different media savvy. It's a different way. Who's this? What is
this is Baby Rose.
okay?
Uh, the album's through and through. It's on Secretly Canadian. Uh, it is a very good, fun, like pop R&B album.
Okay.
Camino's on it. Like it's very, and I guess what I like about this, it's a little fuzzy. It's not in perfect texture, right?
You're saying
Uh,
the image itself that it's blurry.
yeah, the image is a little blurry. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
but the red pops. The,
Yeah.
the sense of red takes over that, and it's a bright red that I don't know. It's kind of rich and romantic, like the album will be. You know.
Got Yeah. Yeah. It's fine to me.
Okay, that's cool. The confidence and the tone is good. I've said I wish R&B people would stop touching their face on the album cover. It There's a lot of face touching in R&B, and it doesn't always make sense. Oh, you know what? Let's go. Okay, we'll move on. Uh, let's go with this. Is actually probably my favorite album cover of the year so far. You never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, man. Still got a long time.
Hell yeah!
Wow. Who's that?
This is an album called Heavy Heavy,
Okay.
uh, and
By
it's
whom?
by Young. It's by Young Fathers.
Young Fathers? Not familiar.
Yep. Yeah.
Where is he, they, group? What are she?
Yeah. Young Fathers are like a rock group from the UK, from Edinburgh,
Okay.
um, and they are very like you can feel a lot of TV on the radio energy
Okay.
in what they do. Uh, it's a really different kind of music, but I really love it. It's really big and
Is
it
it scary?
overpowered. The drums are overpowering, but it is dark. Yeah, there's darkness to it too. So uh, it's creepy, and I think this album cover really is bananas to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that looks like it's out of Stranger Things.
Straight up, and it's such like otherworldly kind of like figure in the darkness, but the mouth is so real.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, yes, very much. I mean, it looks like, and you've been shot up with arrows or spikes or
Right, right.
something. I mean, again, it has a very human just on the mouth, but it also feels very uh, non-human when you're kind of looking at it in a, kind of, I guess, a wide view versus kind of focusing on the detail of the teeth.
And the
Pretty cool.
yellows and the oranges in the
Yeah,
background. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely not familiar with it. And would get me to check it out. I would definitely, run it up and see what the sound is like.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I really like this album a lot. And I found that, I discovered that during the mixtape era, just in the sense that if you had an interesting album cover, I had a much better possibility of liking this project.
For sure.
Just like if you took the time to really do something interesting on the album cover, you probably took that same care with the music inside.
Agree with you.
Yeah. So that's real. I think that's a good kind of. Oh, you know what? I'll give you one more. We'll let you before we go to recommendation corner. This is a punk band from Australia. You ready for this?
Sure.
They're called Bad Dreams. Bad Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And the album's called Hoo Ha.
Got you. It's a photo.
Yeah,
It's
it's like
not a realistic painting, right?
yeah, I think it's a photo. It's a recreation of The Shining.
Oh, definitely.
Coming through the door. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Hoo-ha. Yeah. I think young fathers, again, no disrespect to Hoo-ha. Young fathers cover was more my cup of tea than, um, it's always a little slippery when you're like recreating images.
yeah. Because then you're thinking about The Shining. Yeah. I'm
As
with
soon
you.
as you put it on there, that was what I'm thinking, So
Right.
not that that's to somebody else, they're gonna love it, but to me,
Yeah.
again, I feel like your intention should be, try to do something that's gonna be looks like a good person who makes photos, good lighting, good whatever. So
Yep.
using those still same skill sets and doing and again, that's not trying to be throwing shade on anybody. The person knows how to make a picture.
Right.
Just I think, you use it for your own original idea versus sometimes recreating something that's 3, 4 decades or whatever from when it was originally put together.
I will say, shout out to how dirty that person got. Look at the dirt
Definitely.
all over that for it. That is
Very
they
much.
they really did that.
Very much.
Yep. But yeah, it's a great point. Like you remember like you were talking about using it for good, using that shocking photo imagery for good. I thought of like Fat Boy Sharif and the Gandhi Loves Children cover in the forest. Um, that was such a
Yeah.
cool, thing, and it wasn't reflective of any previous thing. It was their thing, and they went for as shocking and out there as they could. It's awesome.
Yeah. Sharif seems to, I mean, he's got a vision and who he's working with, like they doing what I like that photo of him and the
Yep.
Roper. Is it
Roper
Roper?
Williams. Yep.
So shout out Sharif. I know he's doing stuff with Backwoods, so I'll be curious to see what they come out with this year or next year, whenever it finally hits the mainstream.
Absolutely. Um, so we're going to transition to recommendation quarter,
Okay.
where we, give some people some things to check out. Um, I'm going to start with something I think it came out in February or March, but I didn't tap in till today. As you said, there's a lot out there, and this is Enfant Terrible by Liam Bailey. Um, and it is he's from London.
Reggae.
And it's, huh?
He does some like reggae vibes sometimes, like on some of his stuff.
Yep, reggae R&B ish, but it's very clean. It's very well done. When Juggernaut was here, Juggernaut has worked with him a bunch of times. Juggernaut said that Liam Bailey was about to be signed by Amy Winehouse before she died.
Oh wow!
So that's the kind of talent you're dealing with. I think it's a really, really great project. Let me see what else. You know what? I'm going to shout out Mickey Diamond. Have you heard of Mickey Diamond?
The name sounds familiar, but if I'm totally truthful, I couldn't tell you why.
He releases a bunch of stuff. He's awesome. Let me share this recent cover. Is it? It's really cool. But yeah, he's someone who's always, bringing new angles to what he's talking about. And this is called "Nobody Bleeds Like Flair,"
Okay.
um, and it's really fun. 35 minutes. Yeah,
Is he
great
a rapper?
voice, deep voice. What's up?
Is he a rapper? Is he a
Yeah,
singer?
he's a rapper. Yep, 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 yep. Very dope.
Yeah.
Very dope. So, um, definitely the kind of music you can throw on and just really enjoy.
Cool.
Um, yeah, sometimes as a fan of rap music, you kind of need a balance of like people that are telling their story, people that are spitting because they love spitting, you know. Um, and Diamond has done both, but this is more like just in his bag, ripping the mic, and I appreciate it.
So,
Yeah. Anything you've been listening to?
um, hmm. I've been listening a lot recently to this dude from Mexico called Peso Pluma.
Oh, cool.
Like in the banda corridos kind of like style. And yeah, for me, as much as I listen to hip hop, I listen to a ton of music outside of that. So I'm a big reggae person. Love
Yep.
recently who's been putting out stuff that I've been digging. Um, while he hasn't put out an album, well, I guess he put it out recently. Protege, a guy from Jamaica, put out some music recently. Um,
Woo! Protege, The Hills. You remember The Hills?
yeah,
Oh, The Hills is so fun. That and reggae is so cool right now. I keep telling people reggae is so cool right now because there's so much kind of warmth and humanity in reggae and the way these reggae albums are sounding. Um, and Protege is like that.
yeah, man.
There's a real richness to it, um, and that's beautiful. You know.
Yeah, dudes, there's a lot of young, talented people making music from the Caribbean and from England as well. And you know
Yep.
what I mean? And it's like reggae always been about, well, I won't speak on what it is about, but you know, I mean, it's like, it's definitely been a very influential piece of music in my life and has guided me from when I was very young. So it's like, I love to see that there's young dudes and ladies making music and that there's audiences discovering it and that again the technology keeps pushing everything forward, so it's like pardon me, if you're willing to listen you can find stuff to get into. If you want to hear bad man type of music, you can find your things. If you want to find conscious music, you can find it, so it's like I'm trying to think of like what other stuff. Yeah, at a lot of reggae. This dude Peso Pluma.
Yep.
What did I buy recently for Tommy Guerrero? Guitarist, tremendous talent, and yeah, man. As soon as we get off this, I'll be like, oh, and this thing, and that thing, and this thing, But
Yep.
it's like I don't want to look at my phone. Although, to be honest, on my phone, it's really all just like backwards released or unreleased music. So it's like there's
Oh, the other thing I should follow up on that I've been bumping. I told people a while ago that I was slowly getting through Shabazz Palace's discography,
gotcha,
and I hit Quasar's "Born on a Gangster Star," and I'm kind of staying there a little bit. Like,
gotcha.
let's think about Shabazz. Like, I can't. I'm not gonna just like power through Shabazz Palace's albums. I got to kind of go to the next one and live with it for a while and understand it, and then get to the next one. Like, it's a slow binge, which I
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
To be honest, I don't listen to much of their stuff, so I would be totally fronting if I
Yeah.
tried to act like I do. But I think that that's the should be one's approach with music, kind of in general. You know what I mean? But you
Yep.
shouldn't be churning and burning through it. But you really should try to live with things and discover and figure out what you. I mean, if something initially leads you there, and you're willing to take the time, you're going to discover more and more, you know? So it's like, there are moments that I hear songs, I like a song, I run it up, and then it goes away. But, you know, I'm more interested in finding like entire projects that you can live with, that you feel like this is a solid body of work and not necessarily like one, two singles. See, it's funny you said the thing
Yeah,
about Estee Knack, because I feel like I like this Naxaw better than Barab.
that's
But
awesome.
I like
Yeah,
Votto's production, but I feel like overall I kind of like the production on the Naxaw a bit more in the style of a full project with Estee Knack on it. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's the cool thing is like Knack is working so hard right now and putting out so much. He's got 3 projects this year.
yeah.
So
Which
like,
sometimes you're like, maybe you pace things out a little wider, but you know what I mean? It's like you don't got to rush to drop it so quickly. But again,
but
people,
he's able to provide different flavors for different, like he has different routes with it. So it makes it's just totally different, right? So it's like if Billy Woods releases the solo and then he does Armand Hammer, no one's gonna be like, and oh my gosh, he's got 2 albums. Like it, they're not even gonna think about it like,
no, with Woods, it's definitely like, I mean, again, yeah, that dude is too blessed to have the brain power to do everything that he's doing. So, and shout out to Lucid, because
Oh my
Lucid
god,
is, like you said earlier, constantly inspiring Woods to get better. So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you
You
need a
can really
creative
hear
partner like those guys to balance each other out, you know?
you can really hear Woods learning from Elucid earlier in the discography, and Woods is like the #1 Elucid fan, right? He's always talking about how great Elucid is. So it's the respect is definitely all there, and
I
it
always
seems to
say,
be
get you a friend that respects you like Woods respects a Lucid. Like, I mean, if
yeah,
there's somebody to champion you, that's a beautiful thing to see, selflessly, proudly.
yeah.
You know, there's, again, that's I always love to hear it and think it's a, you know, it's a really admirable quality to not be afraid to share that type of stuff, you know?
And it's key. See, par for the course with Backwoods, where everyone is important. Every kind of cog is important, um, and they have a relationship to the main people, right? Like
Sure.
Fielded has a relationship to the universe, right? She's not like left out, you know,
No,
or used. It's an important part. So that's one of the things I respect so much about how everything moves. Um, Thank you so much for doing this. This was
yeah, man.
awesome to
Yes.
just show you these covers and have you react. It was so cool.
Thank you.
Uh,
Appreciate you
to,
asking me to get involved.
yeah, just and to talk about the sob stories cover was so it's like
I'm glad that I wasn't necessarily, but then I remembered in your note you had mentioned it. So again, it's like, you never know what people are going to connect to. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah,
like, it's dope that for you, it's not always necessarily backwards.
yeah. No, I mean you
Because it's
did.
backwards, it's like, I've been at it for a long time.
Yeah,
So
you
it's,
did. You did Tame One, the Old Jersey Bastard. Like that's a fucking important record. You
yeah,
know.
I appreciate it, man. And again, it's like, you know, everything with the intention and the marathon of just trying to keep getting better at the craft and the trust that people believe in what you do.
Right.
So
Right.
thank you to everybody who, you know, thank you to you for reaching out and asking me to do the
Yeah.
thing. Thank you to anybody who's interested in speaking about it, and those who, you know, have come to expect or trust the way that I handle what I do in my own creative. It's definitely appreciate that people want to acknowledge that part.
Yeah, my co-host never got his internet back. But
Is that
I
going to
will
be
say,
okay for you?
yeah, no, we're good. We're
Okay.
we got this. But yeah, no, I wish you the best. I wish you expanded resources, right? I'm
Thank
excited as your resources grow, your opportunities grow. Um, you're you're so good at what you do that you can help people sell records.
I
Your
hope so, man.
your vision can help people level up. And I can't wait for you to be able to help them in that way. Um,
I appreciate that, man.
yeah, man. No.
And again,
Uh,
thank you for asking me on, and thank you for sharing your platform to speak. And for those who dial in and are with it, again, big up everybody, big up all the supporters, big up everyone.
Yep. Last note here. Yeah, go to the alexanderrichterphoto.com. Check the art. I actually, this is my second Zoom of the week. I was on Crate 808 with Cam.
Big up.
And we had this colossal meeting about Raekwon. And he has a Wu-Tang series. We talked about Cuban Links 2 and the mixtapes around that time. And Midas the Beast was there, and Tokyo Cigar was there. The cool part is that was the first time Tokyo Cigar had been on Crate 808, and he was there because Cam was like, "Who else should we get?" I was like, "Tokyo did my Raekwon episode. He was amazing. He did a remix album of Immobilarity that's awesome. It's on his Bandcamp. Like, so
Send me the link for that.
I'm so happy that me and Tokyo got to go on tour, and the Raekwon, little mini Raekwon tour. Yes, it's awesome. The relationships are great when you
Good
really
people.
are invested in this space.
Yeah, man. Good people
sure.
doing good things that they're passionate about. So it's like, and smart people.
Yeah.
So you support, big up yourself again for having poignant questions, having thoughtful approach, having, care and concern for what you're doing, and understanding that things go beyond a surface level, so it's like, if you can see below it and put it together how you want to present it in a thoughtful manner, it's like, that's integral. Like, we're
The weird
all
part for me,
pieces trying to.
The weird part for me is I've always been this nerdy and analytical with everything. What changed was I realized there were other people who wanted that too. Like, there were other people who were like similarly built and wanted to get to other layers of these projects. And providing a space for them has been fun for everybody, right? Fun for me to be heard in that way. It's fun for them to have someone who prattles on like they do in their head.
Yeah.
So
there's
it's really
a lot
dope.
of you out there. There's a lot of people, like-minded. So again, you're different and you're unique, but dudes in England doing what they're doing, and you can be in Maine doing what you're doing, or wherever one is, and it all kind of dials in together. You know what I mean? The
Absolutely
connective tissue and the DNA, it brings people together. So it's a beautiful thing when it's not always working, but when it works, it's a great thing.
100%. Thank you for this, and everybody, keep supporting art.
Yeah, man. Thank you, dude. I'll see you later.
Later.
Tomorrow.